Hello and welcome to Brian Breaks Character. I am so glad that you're here. Listen, I need you to just check in for a second because this is not a typical podcast episode. I'm trying something totally new with you, and that is that I'm offering a training today. Now, that means, yes, can you totally listen to this while you're driving in your car? 100%. Will it pack a ton of value for you as you do that? Yes. Can you do it while you walk the dog? Yes. However, if you're willing to believe into this class having tremendous value for you, then I do believe you're going to want to go grab the downloads that I've created at brianbreakscharacter.com/2021. Again, that's brianbreakscharacter.com/2021, because today's class is all about taking stock for what you have accomplished in the past year. Now, listen, before you be like, Brian, I never accomplished enough, or I don't want to look at that. More often than not, what I see people do is they sell themselves short. So this class is all about building on the success that you've had in the past and acknowledging yourself for what you've accomplished, because you can't build on the success you don't measure. And I strongly believe that. That's something that my coach says. And we're going to get really clear on who you've been in the past year and any kind of messy stories that might have been picked up along the way so that you can move into 2022 with tons of clarity. Now, look, this is not a resolution setting class. I believe resolutions can often set us up to fail. This is not, I'm going to now do this and I'm going to lose 20 pounds by 2022 or whatever bull crap somebody else is trying to tell you to do with your resolutions. This is about owning who you have been and how you have shown up for your craft and your creativity in the past year. Now, I know the past couple of years have been a little wild, shall we just say, with all the social distancing going on. And so we know that that does mean the years have been a little wonky. And so we may feel a little out of sorts as we move into the words you've heard too many times, this new normal, but without getting our feet planted firmly on the ground, acknowledging who you are and who you've been, I think it just lets you lean into a more messy state of being and a place of being a little more blown by the wind instead of knowing exactly how you want your life to look. So head on over to brianbreakscharacter.com/2021, grab the downloads, pause the podcast for a second as you go grab them, print them out, or just call them up on your screen, come back to me, and let's go through this training. All right. I'm assuming you grabbed the downloads. First thing I want to make sure you know is that Natalie is here with me. Natalie is the podcast producer for Brian Breaks Character. So she's heard every single episode's ins and outs every time I've flubbed on this thing. And she is here to be your voice. She's here specifically to help me if I move too quickly through one of the teaching points today, or if she's like, Brian, I didn't understand that. She's the voice for you so that you can really move through this training in a way that you feel really confident on the actions you're taking, because it's not about getting it right, but it is about you leaving this training feeling like you have a better sense of who you've been in the past year and who you're stepping into in 2022. So Natalie, please say hello to the people.
Hi, people. Thanks for having me here, Brian.
Oh, I'm so glad. It's so nice to finally have your voice on the podcast, because all we do is talk about the podcast. That's all I do with Natalie. So this is like a really great thing. So Natalie, are you ready to go on a ride of who you've been in 2021?
Let's do it.
Okay, great. So I might be calling on you to give us an example from time to time. So let's join in, guys. So first things first, take a deep breath. Let yourself arrive to this training. Let yourself arrive to this podcast episode. Let yourself believe that it is worth your time to take stock of who you have been. I think that as we move into this new year, it is the perfect time, of course, to take a look back, see how far you've come, what you've accomplished, what you've learned, and how it all feels inside your body, especially after these wild years that we've had. Now, this worksheet and this lesson is a thoughtful way for you to do that. Now, I want to make sure that you hear when I say this. It might be tempting to just listen to this podcast today, and that is a total invitation. You are able to do that. If you want to take this to distance, I do encourage you to use these worksheets. So let's move into step one. So step one, the first thing I want you to think about is, in the past year, what obstacles did you overcome and what did you accomplish? So as you think about this, I want you to think about this as the full, I like to call the circle of life. So don't make this only about your career. There's also relationships and romance to think about, fun and recreation, Your health and your wellness. What did you overcome and accomplish in these areas? Your spirituality, your finances. What did you overcome or what did you accomplish in that area? Personal growth is a tremendous one for me, and family and friends. So I want to make sure that I cover those 8 slices one more time. So as you're there thinking about what did I accomplish? What obstacles did I overcome? What did you overcome within your career? What did you overcome within relationship and romance, within fun and recreation, within health and wellness, spirituality, your finances, personal growth, and maybe with your family and friends? What obstacles were there and what did you accomplish? And just jot these things down. And as you think about them, what did you do? What actions did you actually take, right? What did you actually overcome? Can you name the specific of that? And what are the real results that you achieved? Is it a sense of confidence? Is it a new way of managing your money? You created a full budget for yourself. Is it my mom and I finally can have phone on the conversation without getting an argument in the first 5 minutes? We talked through whatever that mishigas was that we were holding on to. The reason I ask you to ask these questions kind of together, like what did you do? What did you overcome? What results did you achieve? Is we often downplay the significance of these accomplishments. We're all, productivity addicted, I would say. And it's not just about what you got done. It's equally important to consider your life and how you felt getting there. So if you've accomplished something or created something, you owe it to yourself to recognize it and give yourself credit for it. So as you think about like what came up for you just now, I want you to also consider, is there one of these areas that's most important to you? Or one of these things that you accomplished that feels the most important to you? Maybe you could name the top 3. And if you were to do so, what really sums up your year? If you were able to say 2021 was my year of fill in the blank. This is how I showed up, fill in the blank. And it might be a phrase, might be a few words. I'll give you a second to do this. Or if you're just thinking about this, if you're following along by listening, give you a moment to think about that. Natalie, how are we doing over there?
Great.
Great. Any questions? How are you feeling about yourself right now?
I was feeling a little nervous about it, but I really feel that having all the different slices of this makes me feel less nervous, that it's not all focused on career, that it's focused on all these different aspects of your life, which makes you a whole person.
Yeah. And Natalie, I will just say, like, as you're looking at it, like, just so you guys hear, when you have the download, in case you didn't grab it yet, the slices are all painted out for you in a slide where you can really look at them. And I will say there's something even by, I think what I'm acknowledging you're saying, Natalie, you can correct me here, is even by seeing it separated into these slices, you suddenly go, I don't need to look at the entirety of my life in this moment. I can look at each of these kind of separately. Did that resonate for you even looking at it?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I felt. I was like, oh, I can think about my family. It doesn't just have to be this thing. And yeah, your health and wellness and what you did this year. It's good to think of it as a whole.
Right. And I'll just say, just while we're here, since we're here, people, what the number one slice I see people ignore and not realize they're not giving attention to is fun and recreation. We all, because of the productivity, creative, ambitious people we are, I should say productivity addicted, creative, ambitious people we are, often think of fun and recreation as getting to do our creative thing, but we don't always invest. Like, let me go to the botanical garden and look at some roses, or let's do a puzzle, or maybe you're one of the people who's really good at giving their hobby the attention it deserves, but I really want to just advocate for fun and recreation being a value in your life. So just kind of notice that as you move through this. Okay, so I'm going to move on into step 2. Step 2, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, what did you learn? So I want you to go back to the first month of the year. Go back to January and just think about January 2021. That's like almost a year ago, right? What happened in that month? And you can even move month to month as you go through this, just to remember, what did I learn and how did I change? So this question kind of surprises me every year, because while it feels like time has gone by really fast or really slow, I think for me, this whole pandemic time feels like time goes kind of slow. You might think to yourself, hey, I didn't change at all. And I'm the same person, right? When you take a moment to reflect, you start to realize you learned things and you grew in ways that last January you never could have imagined. And whether that's in an intimate relationship, or it's with your own acting career or creative career, or it's the way you're relating to your finances, we seem to always be aware of the big changes and the sudden lessons we learn from like major life experiences or crises, like being sick or your dog getting sick or anything like that. Those things make a bigger impact on us. They're stickier, they stick more. And then there are the small things, the small interactions you had, the small changes and tweaks that you made in your life based on the little lessons you're learning over time. And all those little experiences are what make you who you are, your day-to-day person. And they give you this, I would say, I like to call this your personal wisdom that help you inform your choices, right? So as you look over thinking about what did you learn in the past year, take a second here to think about this. Actually, I'm gonna pause here for a second. What are some life lessons you feel like you learned? Like big or small? I'll tell you one of mine that's really small. Natalie, maybe I'm gonna put you on the spot here, see if you have one you can share. I learned that it is ridiculous for me to get mad that the kitchen counter gets dirty every day, because it's a damn kitchen counter and it's meant to get dirty every day and you're going to clean it up every day. So let's start to relate to the kitchen counter like it's a kitchen counter instead of it's a museum. So I would get frustrated every single time I'd go in the kitchen and be like, I can tell that my partner made lunch today because the counter is messy. And that was a very small lesson, but you can imagine the reverberations that has. Suddenly we're like, I'm no longer like resentful of him making lunch. I'm no longer resentful of the kitchen getting dirty. I'm no longer resentful of the effort that I put into cleaning it up or him cleaning it up, whatever. Natalie, did you have any small lessons that you can kind of notice that had some reverberations for you?
The first thing that came to mind, and I'm going to use that kitchen counter thing, by the way, but the first thing came to mind was just realizing that you can have a connection when we live in this world that we're living in right now, and you can have a connection on Zoom with family. And I fought that for so long, and thinking about how, well, it's just not the same. It's not the same. And I just learned that I need to be grateful that we can do that and have that feeling. Like, we celebrated my son's third birthday, and one set of grandparents was able to be here and the other one wasn't, but it still felt like we were having a party together with my parents on Zoom. And just, realizing that to not be thinking about how I wish it could have been, and just really appreciate the way it can be.
Wow, that's really profound, Natalie, because I can see that feeling, like the frustration that might come up around like, this party doesn't mean anything. They all should be here. That can always feel like a less than, and to just allow yourself the permission to like, okay, I'm going to believe into the fact that we can connect in a deep, profound, real feeling way over Zoom is actually a perspective that we can grab onto. You know, one of the things that I always say, and this is from A Course in Miracles, is I believe that a miracle is a change of perspective. And so your willingness to see things a new way is such a gift. So this might be, that might be a doorway into many of the people listening right now of how to listen to the learnings you've had in this year. Where did you change your mind about someone or something? And as you write these things down, which I'm encouraging you to do, you can just jot them down. Just be long sentences here. What's the most important item on the list? What's the biggest lesson you learned? Or maybe you can narrow into the top 3 big lessons that you really want to solidify from 2021, so you don't have to learn them again in 2022. So you can become the new age you're becoming, right? And again, here, this is another place where you might say, what really sums up your year? So 2021 was my year of learning to become, I was a student of fill in the blank. So for me, I think because it's a lot of time in the house, I would say that I was a student of, oh, this is so painful to say out loud. I was a student of realizing that my partner and I are 2 different people. That like we are not going to relate to the house the same way in terms of cleanliness or cleaning things up. And that's not to say anyone in this house is a slob, but just to notice that we are different. And so I was a student of realizing everyone is not the same as you. And I think that was really helpful for me. So I'm just going to track back just a little bit for those of you, again, to keep you on track. So question number 1, step 1 was noticing, what did you do? What did you accomplish in the year? What did you overcome? And then step number 2 was, what did that teach you? What did you learn from that? So taking stock of that. All right. Is Natalie, we ready to move to step 3, you think? Great.
I think so.
Natalie's nodding her head. Great. So after you've free written a little bit on those 2 big questions, I want you to go for 3 to 5 sentences or bullet points. Just like, doesn't have to be big paragraph. You're not writing your life story here, right? So at the top of this page where you're writing these things down, you might write my year in review. So after you've reviewed this list of things you've learned, this list of things you've done, this list of the obstacles you've overcome, I want you to consider how satisfied you are. And I want to get really clear here. I want you to look at that circle, that wheel of life, those 8 slices. So if you're listening and not looking at the document, that means you're looking at the word career, relationship and romance, considering fun and recreation, health and wellness, spirituality, financial, personal growth, and family and friends. Those are the 8 slices you're kind of thinking about and looking at. Rate your satisfaction in each of those 8 areas. Now, satisfaction is not achievement level. Satisfaction might be, you know what? I'm kind of at a 3 with my family right now, but that's okay. I'm okay with being a 3 at my family right now. I don't need to be at a 10 all the time with them, right? So really, it's almost like, what are you feeling okay with? So you might be like, well, my career, I'm feeling kind of like a 5. I really want that to be at an 8. So just taking a moment to go through the whole wheel. And I hate to use the word rate, but rate your satisfaction in each of these areas. So Natalie, I'll give you some time to go through this, to just look at each of the slices and give it a number 1 to 10. And as you're doing this, as it's parsed into these 8 areas, it should be a little easier to consider these things. Remember, you are not giving yourself a grade. This is not, I'm an A+ and relationship and romance. My sex life and my relationship is going awesome. That's an A+, right? That is not what it is. I am satisfied to the nth degree. That might give yourself a 10, right? You might also be like, my relationship, my romance is totally fine and I feel okay about it, and it's like a 7. Right? So just noticing where you are, right? This gives you a chance to ask more profound questions like, how has my year really gone? How do I feel about my year when I pull it apart in this way? How do I rate myself in my year in this way? Again, this is not a grade, so I want to be mindful of that. And your level of satisfaction is going to help us as we move into the next question. But before we move on there, this concept can be a little more obtuse to hold on to. So I want to check in with Natalie and see if you understood and if you had a chance to kind of look at this homework here.
Yeah, definitely made sense. I'm glad that you gave us a rating. I was like, is it 1 to 5? Am I rating which one is the best from 1 to 10? So
yes. And also, one question that always comes up around this is, yes, you can put 5 on all 8 slices. You can use the same number twice. It's not about ranking. That would be a very different word, right? So it's giving yourself a satisfaction level in each of these areas. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So would you want to share with us a little bit?
Sure.
So before you tell us a single number, I want to ask you a question. I want everyone to ask themselves this question. What was it like to do this?
I don't like doing this.
Tell me what you tell me more.
Because I start to question, I'm like, well, no, I am happy with this, but how am I really feeling right now? And if you asked me last week, fun and recreation, it might have been a lot lower, but we had Thanksgiving and we were with people. I actually had my best friend is in town, so I spent a lot of time with her, and I'm like, oh, my fun and recreation's like really up right now. I could give that a 10, whereas I might have given it a 5 a week ago.
Yeah. So so what I'm hearing you say is this is confronting.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's actually forcing you you might lie to yourself sometimes. That's what I'm hearing you say.
I guess I have to say yes, because otherwise I'd be lying.
You're like, I'm mad at you for making me say this. But okay, so just so that I'm clear here, Natalie, I want to get really clear. So what you're saying is you might talk yourself into a positive attitude around some things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is so important about this is 2 things. One, I don't want to take anyone's optimism. That's not what this is about. I want to make sure that we hear this. this is about getting honest. So let's pretend, Natalie, we'll use this as an example, but this could be anybody. So I want to make sure, is it okay if we use you an example?
Sure. I'm
Great.
here.
Great. So Natalie could lie to herself year after year about how she's feeling about, let's use fun and recreation because that's the one you brought up for now, right? That she says, I'm okay with this being at a 3. I am totally okay with this being at a 3. And slowly, year after year, we see this sudden like, oh, my knee hurts all the time. Or I'm just not feeling good in my job right now. Or I am not getting along with my husband. And it leaks out. Ambition, I think, can leak out, or wants or needs like this can leak out into other areas. So while it may be uncomfortable for the moment, and I don't know if this is even the number you gave yourself, so I want to be really mindful here, Natalie. But what does that how does that resonate with you? Does it piss you off? What does it make you feel when I share that with you?
It doesn't piss me off. It's just being, like we said, honest and truthful and not lying.
Yeah.
So, which can be hard because, like you said, I'm glad you said about the optimism because I appreciate that. But right, yeah, if you're saying you're okay with something year after year, and then you might not actually be. So where are you at? No one's grading you on this right now. Right. No one even has to know what it is.
No one has to know this, but you and me and Natalie and I won't even know if you did this. So let's be really clear. This is just for you. And part of what I think is important, Natalie, is let's pretend you found, shit, damn it, I am like at a 3 for fun and recreation. And I really would like that to be at fill in the blank. I'd like that to be at a 5. Don't just be like, I want everything to be at a 10. That's actually unfair to yourself. I think it's impossible for everything to be at a 10 at all time because there's 24 hours in the day. And like at some point, something's going to be a little bit lower than another. Like you said, Thanksgiving just happened. So fun and recreation was up right now. So that might mean like, I don't know, I'm going to throw like health and wellness is down because I ate a lot of stuffing, or I'm just making shit up right now. But that could be the way you feel about that. Like I was a little more sedentary than I normally am, right? So these things can change through the year. And even through day to day, let's be honest, they could change day to day. They can change all over in one conversation. They can go all over the place probably. But in this present moment, as you're giving yourself this rating, as you're looking at this like through the lens of rating the satisfaction level here, this is a chance to get really honest so that you can decide how you want things to be next year. And it isn't a chance this is not an opportunity to beat yourself up. I mean, it is an opportunity. Please don't take that opportunity. It's an opportunity to say, wow, look what I'm learning about myself. Look what I'm noticing. Oh my gosh, I never even think about I never even think about spirituality being a part of the way I live in my life. I never even look at that one. And actually, I'm really feeling, every time I go to yoga class, it gives me this great feeling. And I actually would like to be a person who goes a little bit more because that is a place where I feel connected to the earth and with other people, right? So like, this is an opportunity for you to just see that. This isn't an opportunity. Please do not bring out a whip to flagellate yourself, right? So I just want to kind of use that as the framework here, the satisfaction. All right. I think we covered that. Natalie, do you feel good about where we're at with that?
I do, but get out of my head with this spirituality one.
Oh, get out of your head. Oh, yeah. Is that where you were? Got it. Great. Okay.
I totally get
that.
Right.
Hey, I can take care of you there. So we can work on that. Okay. So let's move into step number 4. Step number 4, you're going to love step number 4 because step number 4 is, what do I need to let go of? Now, you don't even need to think to answer this. Just close your eyes for a second. Whatever or whomever you wish was different in this past year, and I'm a bet there are some things or some ones who have come to mind, that's the very situation or person you have to forgive. It has already come up. It might be the pandemic. It might be your sister. It might be the actor in your acting class. It might be that person who you can't stop comparing yourself to. Whatever is sticking in your craw is part of what's holding you back. Whatever you are complaining about is part of what's holding you back. It could be any person you know, right? It could be anything that has happened. It could surprise you. It could be, dang it, the neighbor in their garbage can. Like I'm making stuff up here, but it really could be anything. So you and I both know that forgiveness isn't simple. Like I can't just say, now write it down on a piece of paper and it's done. But when you write it down, you set the stage for the healing to start. Now, I am sure this is confronting. You might even getting mad right now or pissed off at me. You might want to turn off this podcast. You don't want to do this experience anymore. Listen, you have just made it through one hell of a year. Do not bail on yourself now. And we're going to start this really easily. I want you to write down, yes, pen and paper. If you're listening to this as you drive the car, think about going back to this later. The situations and the persons that are getting in your way. And you don't have to do anything besides write it down. You can just, Cliff's Notes that for a second or write their full name. And at this moment, all I'm going to ask you to do is give yourself permission to believe that the universe is here to support you and will nudge you to take the next steps. That's it. Permission to believe. I don't have to know what to do next. The universe is on the case because I've just acknowledged it. The universe is on the case because I've just said, I acknowledge this thing is something I'm holding on to. Another thing we might say inside of A Course in Miracles is, I'm willing to see things a different way. And that one of our functions on this planet is to forgive. So I'm not going to tell you what your next steps are after you write it down and after you let the universe begin to take care of it. But the next steps could be like meditation. It could be journaling. It could be praying. It could be holding a crystal and chanting. It could be calling someone. It could be writing a letter. No matter what, forgiveness does not begin until you surrender to the truth. And the truth is you're wishing for things to be different. And that is the birthplace of discontent. I'm going to say that again. You must surrender to the truth. And the truth is you are wishing for things to be different. And you and I both know that that is the birthplace of discontent. So by writing it down, you allow this to alchemize. You allow this to change. You allow the universe to reveal the next steps to you. Natalie, I'm afraid to ask you to unmute your mic here and just connect with me, but can you tell me what's going on over there for you?
There's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of feelings. There's some, I want to do what you're saying, but there's no but. It's just, and that it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to really, face what you're saying.
Yeah, I think, and what came up for me when you said it's hard to face it or it's hard to do, it's like, I don't want to admit that I'm a dick. Like, I don't want to write down that person's name that I'm a jerk to in my mind, even if I don't really know, even if I don't ever talk to them. Like, I don't really want to admit like, shit, this is an area where I'm not a great person. How dare, I just got my own number just now. I'm pissed off that I'm sorry I taught this to myself just now because I'm thinking of like the situations that I need to forgive or the people, right? So did you at least write the names of the situations on the paper, Natalie?
I did.
Great. Beautiful.
I did.
So it started. Just know the universe is on the case. You don't have to do anything yet. Allow it to change, right? You will be more at peace once it changes, and you have to be in charge of how it's going to change it. This is the first step. Okay. All right. So take a deep breath. We got through that. We got through the idea of forgiveness. We got through the things we need to let go of that have happened in the past year. We got through the idea of it. You may not have let go of it yet. I get that, or at least we're acknowledging it. Step 5 is asking yourself what's missing and what's next. Now, this should start to bring up all the positive, joyous confetti feelings inside. I want you to write a couple paragraphs or a list of bullet points, or you can even go further if you feel inspired. In this review, you've already taken an inventory of what you've overcome, what you accomplished, and what you learned, how you've changed, what you're still willing to let go of. Didn't say you let go of it, but you're willing to. And with that, you now can plan a path to go forward. So ask yourself these questions. What's missing on the list of things that I've accomplished? What were you unable to spend enough time on this year? When you look back and you go, dang, I just wish, what comes up for me when I ask that question is, I wish I read the New York Times more often. I have the damn paper delivered on my driveway every Sunday. And every Sunday I usually get through like 1.5 sections, and I love reading the paper, and I just need to give myself that. So that might be real small, but to me, that's actually something where I feel like my life is well lived if I get to do that. All right. So here's another question. What big goals or dreams would you like to achieve next year? Now, I don't want to add realistic to this because sometimes this can become like realistic becomes like a little troll who's like, that's too big. Don't dream too big. But I like to think of realistic being more like look, there's 365 days in the year. You're probably not going to produce 16 feature films. Like, let's just be real about it. So like, let realistic be a little bit more like the time factor way to imagine that, so that you don't be too hard on yourself. So again, the questions to ask yourself about what's next for you are, what's missing out of what you've accomplished? What were you unable to spend enough time on this year? Just unable to do? And what big goals or dreams would you like to achieve next year? And a little kind of PS caveat to this moment is consider the obstacles that you've overcome as an indication of just how much you're capable of now. Let's not hold you back to who you were in 2020. We just finished 2021 and you overcame some new things. You have some new skills, some new strengths that you've identified in yourself. So as you're writing these things down that you want to do next, lean into those strengths being a place that can help get you there. All right? Natalie, how'd that feel?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. Yeah, you're making me feel taken care of in these moments.
Good.
So it's like, that's good. And yeah, it's exciting to think about what's to come, and especially what I've overcome to lead me to be able to do this in the new year.
Yes. And Natalie, I want to just make sure everyone who's listening, like, you may be pausing this episode many times to go and do the homework and then come back and forth, because right now I'm putting you on the spot. I'm like, and what's your answer, Natalie? So like this question, what's next for you, is probably one you want to take a moment to answer here. You'll notice in the action guide, the download, there's actually there's two packets there. There's one that's a worksheet that is just kind of walking you through the steps that I just described. And the other one is really an action guide. And that action guide is where you're really taking stock of who you have been with the numbers. So really getting clear on the numbers. Because a lot of times we think about doing things so much that we fool ourselves into imagining we completed them or that we did a lot of work on them. And thinking is not doing. There is always more value in doing than there is in thinking. I honestly believe. No offense to philosophers. I love philosophers. And the risk is that you view the work you did as not enough by not tracking it. Right? So I don't want you to weaponize any of the data you collect today as you fill out kind of this worksheet and you notice, oh, I spent 4 hours a week acting or whatever. You're using it not to say I did enough or I didn't do enough, but getting real is how you begin to accept an invitation to yourself to commit at a different level in 2022. So again, I'm going to say that one more time. By using the data to say, this is how many hours I put into acting. And remember that step number 1 where we were doing that work of what did I accomplish? That action guide really is walking you through that. The assignment here is not I did enough or I didn't do enough or that. It's really just to get real. Getting real is a way to accept an invitation to commit at a different level in 2022. All right. I think that's all that I wanted to say about that. Anything else that I didn't cover, Natalie, that you wanted to check in with me about? I know that I feel like I tacked on that information about that action guide. So I want to just take a minute, another breath here to say this. When you go through this worksheet, if you stop and start the recording, if that's how you choose to do it, just know that those worksheets work in tandem with each other. And if you're listening to this, like, Brian, I haven't downloaded the worksheets. Brian's talk about the worksheets is making me anxious. That's the opposite of what this is meant to encourage. When you get a chance, take a seat, look at the worksheet and listen again, or just think back on what I said to you. I believe that this is worth your time because it will set you up for such a beautiful runway for 2022. And we have an episode coming up that is going to be a beautiful, like, icing on the cake to kind of the lesson that we cover today. Natalie, any questions from you or things that I didn't cover that you think I need to talk into today?
No, I think it's good that you brought up the worksheet again because I followed along with the first one. And now that I'm looking at the worksheet, I'm like, oh, and look at that wheel of life and like how we fill it out. And
Yes.
got a little like nerdy about, seeing it that way. I was like, oh, everything is right here for me to do. Okay, I can tackle this. This will be good.
Great. Great. It's good to hear you say that. So everyone, bottom line here is you accomplished some shit in 2021 that I would love you to be really proud of. You learned some stuff in 2021. You're a different person because you lived through 2021. That is not to say 2021 was bad for you. Just say you made it through another year. Congratulations. You are a different person. Things have happened in your life that have changed who you are and who you're continuing to become. And this assignment is for you to just own all that and to make 2022 one where you step into more bigness and more greatness. So I am very excited to hear how this goes for you. So on my Instagram, you will see that there is a post devoted to this episode. Underneath that, I would love for you to write a comment that just says, I did the work, or I did my 2021 review. I'm going to give you exactly what to say. If you're someone who's going to get there and get too thoughtful, just write, did it, exclamation point. And then I'll shoot you DM to see how it went. All right. So again, go to Brian Says That on Instagram, look for the year-end review episode post, and in the comments wrote, hey, I did it. And I will DM you a response to check in and see how it went for you. All right. I'm so grateful you spent this time with me and with Natalie. So grateful you're here, Natalie. It's so fun to have a podcast episode with you.
Thank you. This was a gift. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. And y'all, I love you. You're incredible. You're amazing. Please keep changing the world. And I will see you in our next episode. Take very good care of yourself. Oh, I cannot wait. 2 episodes from now, we're going to be sharing a very, very special Vision 2022 episode. And you will not want to miss it. We're going to have I think it's 5 actors are going to be on the episode all at once. And we're going to take them through this process. So be sure to tune into that. But right now, go do your homework. All right. Let's take care. Let's own who you were in 2021. All right. Take care of yourselves. Love you.